Hey guys, I'm here. Last night I went and saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, and as a longtime Ninja Turtles fan, I thought this mostly lived up to a lot of my expectations and found myself enjoying this movie quite thoroughly. There's a couple things that didn't quite work for me, but the vast majority really did. This movie is brought to us by Jeffrey Rowe, who you may know, you may not. He directed the Mitchells versus the Machines, which I was a huge fan of when that came out. And this has a very strong and similar visual aesthetic to that film that just kind of seems to be riding the wave that Into the Spider-Verse has just kind of sent out into the ether for animation, allowing animators to be way more free, expressive, experimental. The animation in this movie is gorgeous. The art direction is phenomenal. The way they realize the action, the world, the aesthetic of New York, and the turtles themselves, as well as the various other mutants throughout this movie, is just spectacular to behold. One hang-up that I have, though, is, and it's just a personal taste, the general aesthetic of the humans is sometimes kind of appalling and hard to look at times. Just they're very stylized in a lot of ways, and I think it's in a way to accentuate the xenophobic element of that this movie kind of tackles, because there's a heavy theme surrounding that with this fear of the surface world, yet this longing to be accepted, to be part of the world that they exist in, rather than having to live in the shadows and live in the sewers and live in hiding. As these kids are teenagers, these turtles are teenagers, they are hitting this point in their lives where they're wanting for more, as we all do at that age. And that's the thing I really enjoyed about this movie is the turtles. As you would want and expect out of this, they all feel extremely unique, distinct, but there's this chemistry between them all that just works. Even when they're butting heads, even when they're chastising each other, it all just works together, and they all stand out so well, and they feel like teenagers. They feel very authentic. And I think part of that is large in part because they are voiced by teenagers. The cast they got for this, like, they just fit these turtles so well. And this is a different introduction to the turtles than we've had before, because it's a very grounded and personal story with the idea of just their inception, their origin, and others like them are at the root of it. It's Mutant Mayhem, the mutants. This is all about the mutagen. This is all about the promise of that and kind of the complications that it's like insertion into this world has created. And the world is obviously a hard place to integrate into when you are different. And this movie really uses the turtles and the mutants as a vehicle for that. Very similar to like the X-Men and mutants there, because we're kind of reversing the order of some of the things you typically normally do with a Ninja Turtles property. So it does have me kind of like raising an eyebrow and being like a little like, I'm curious to see what they're going to do next. The voice work is phenomenal. Like, these kids, like Nicholas Canto plays Leonardo, Brady Noon as Raphael, Micah Abbey as Donatello, and Shimon Brown Jr. as Michelangelo. They really do carry the heart of this. And like, you feel for these kids, you feel for these turtles, these teenagers that are just wanting to be normal, to be part of the world, to not have to hide and lurk and all the jazz. I love it. I love what they did with it. Jackie Chan as Splinter, great voice work, great choice. One of my hang-ups in this, though, he is probably one of the weaker Splinters. If I were to compare and contrast with the various iterations I've grown up with over the years, probably one of the ones I not so gravitating towards, though I think Jackie Chan gave a great performance, as well as the origin to like how they become ninjas is also one of the ones. It's not the worst one we've ever seen, but I didn't quite latch on to that aspect of it. You know, I may just be too beholden to the way things have been done before, and that's okay. I'm sure this is like people coming into this fresh without any Turtles experience is going to just roll with it. As goofy as it is, it doesn't really hamper my enjoyment of the movie as a whole at all, because it's got so much energy. And despite some of my hang-ups with the explanations and the backgrounds and stuff like that, like, it's still like they get the core spirits of these characters intact. And that's what's most important, I think. The score is great. It is done by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails. which is wild. And it's not his first time scoring a film, but like it just fits nicely in with the general tone of the movie, as well as a lot of the soundtrack choices that they go with this. Being a product of the times, there was a lot of pop culture references that I honestly, maybe in something else, may have found a little cringy or anything like that. You know, because whenever you reference pop culture or what is popular at the time, it always dates the film. But because these are teenagers, like it all feels like stuff they would be talking about. And there's a lot of little Easter eggs and a lot of little things that they reference that I just kind of found like enjoyable because one, it just relates them even closer to me, who also enjoys and has grown up with a lot of the same things. And it's just fun. You know, our villain is Superfly in this film. He is, as his name implies, a super fly, voiced by Ice Cube, and he leads kind of a multitude of various mutants who also want to share this world. And there's all kinds of people in this as far as the voice goes, because Superfly, voiced by Ice Cube, John Cena as Rocksteady, Seth Rogen as Bebop, Hannibal Buress as Genghis Frog, Rose Byrne as Leatherhead, Natasha Detremeux as Wingnut, and Giancarlo Esposito as Baxter Stockman, Post Malone as Ray Fillet, and Maya Rudolph as Cynthia Utrom, and I think one of the breakouts of this, Paul Rudd as Mondo Gecko. Almost every scene with Mondo Gecko, it made me laugh. It was so, I don't know. It was the delivery, the animation, his design, everything about every moment he was in just had me cackling. The imagery and the action is top notch in this. Like, I really love the action, the way it's animated, and there's a sequence in here that is just beautiful. It's a series of, we're seeing a bunch of different events unfolding at the same time, parallel to each other, that are interspliced and connected. Like this very, very creative montage of the Turtles scouring the city. And of course, we also have April O'Neil in here, who has been aged down to be about the same age as the Turtles. I think that's been done in the more recent one that's on Nickelodeon. I haven't watched that one, so I don't know, but like I've seen like the artwork, and she looks much younger than what we're traditionally used to. She's a high school student. She's kind of an aspiring reporter. She's not quite fallen into the comfort of being the April O'Neil we kind of all grew up with. So everybody is kind of at their introductory levels. They are not yet the characters that we knew in, like, let's say the animated series in the 80s, or even the films in 1990 and stuff like that, which I grew up with, and I still like think that those two films are still my favorite out of all the ones that we've gotten, even including this. While I do think this is very much so more catered to younger audiences, you know, it's very active, it is very eclectic at times. Not all the humor necessarily lands. I do feel like there's a little bit of an over-reliance on the comedic elements rather than the dramatic. I think we've seen a better balance stricken before, but like I said earlier, there was also a lot of times that it definitely did have me busting at the seams, and a few times it got me to break a tear. Some Turtles take a back seat compared to some of the others, but overall, I think the film works. I think this is a nice first step into this world, and it definitely has me looking forward to what they do next, because the way they've set things up in this film and set a different trajectory for the Turtles, it definitely leaves us in a very interesting place. But yeah, I don't know, I really enjoyed it. It's not my favorite of the Turtles films. That goes to the 1990 live action film. That is still, I think, the best Ninja Turtles representation we've had on the big screen. This is definitely better than Bay films. This is definitely better than TMNT and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. I still think Secret of the Ooze and the original film are above this in my Turtles pantheon. But coming in at number 3 is not too bad. That's not too bad. But what did you guys think? Have you seen it? Sound off the comments. Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll carry on the conversation after the video. Hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe if not already. Before you go, I want to shout out our channel legends: Manny Sherritt, Ryan Karen, Yori Coruscant, Margaret Grace, Melita, Robert Miano, Jeffrey Hale, M. Sephiroth, Jake Cantrell, and Eric Official. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. But that's it for this video, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everybody.